Happy New Year and welcome to the Clive Barker Podcast, the one and only podcast dedicated to Clive Barker, his many works, and those he inspires. This is episode 129, 2016 in review. If you're just joining us, this is something that we do every year, typically right at the end of the year or right at the beginning of the new year. We go through the previous year and talk about what our favorite things were that happened and what we're looking forward to for the future. So anyway, we also have kind of a touching goodbye to Rob, who's moving on to some new things. We hope to have him come back now and then. But yeah, so take a listen. So this is our first episode of the year, episode 129, 2016 in reviews. This has kind of been a tradition of ours. Our very first episode we ever did was 2011 in review.
Yeah, that's right. It's great that we made it through another year, and a lot of interesting stuff happened this year. We had more content available than ever thanks to our Kickstarter. And thanks for sticking with us, guys. And we hope to go into our fifth year with a lot of cool stuff to share with all the other fellow Clive Barker fans out there.
And what we did in past years is we would each make a list of our 10 favorite releases or things that happened over the year, and then kind of go like round robin and talk about each one of our things. And of course, there would be crossover, but this year is a little different. I mean, I think like on the Nerdist podcast, they called 2016 the year of no chill. And I think for Clive Barker, it seems like kind of a rebuilding year because there weren't a whole lot of releases. So I think we kind of had to all go get together to put together one smaller list rather than doing what we did in previous ones.
It's, again, if you're listening to us for the first time or if you're a regular listener, I just want to let you guys know that my name is Joe. We got Ryan.
Hey.
And we have Rob with us for another episode. Unfortunately, Rob, you're a little sick for this episode. And
sorry about that.
That's fine. And you're going to be stepping away from the podcast for a little bit. And
yeah, sadly. I hate to do it, but I've got to do it just for, I guess, just for my own sake, just to get a life going for myself.
Okay. Well, that's understandable. So it's been another successful year for the Clive Barker Podcast. And
yes,
we'll power through it without Rob, because Rob, you helped put us on the map, especially as not just another nerd culture podcast, but as a news outlet by fans for the fans. So you've been the guy who ran all the news on our blog. We occasionally, Ryan and I would step in and make an article or a review here and there, but you carry the brunt of the blog posts for us, and that was really amazing work.
Yeah, we really appreciated that.
I appreciate that, and I just want to say thank you for the people that have left comments. Ron and them have said that people have left comments on Facebook. I don't get on Facebook, so I can't say what the comments on that, but there were a couple comments on the blog, and I really appreciate those comments. And I mean, hopefully, you never know what the future holds. Like I said, I told him I'm going to come back probably for the Hellraiser
Judgment
commentary.
Yeah.
And I'd like to do a review of. I probably will do a review of Jose's upcoming Hellraiser Bloodline
documentary. Yeah, Bloodline.
Cool.
The story of Hellraiser Bloodline. It's coming, guys. We're working on it.
One of those comments actually was from David. It was kind of funny. He said, "It's too bad that I'm going to have to watch Hellraiser Judgment to hear Rob's last episode."
Yeah. He told me that in a personal message.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's gotten to be a good friend.
Yeah.
So we had our Kickstarter. It's the first successful Kickstarter that we did. It was called Fundraiser 3, Hell on Earth. It covered our podcast expenses, and it gave us a chance to get a small upgrade of our equipment in terms of microphones and quality. Mm-hmm. It was really fun to do. It really pushed the envelope when it came to finding ideas to create more content. We came up with commentary tracks. I know these were very popular with some of our listeners. We got some exclusive announcements this year, thanks to Seraphim, like an announcement for the upcoming Hellraiser Anthology that we kind of broke on our blog. We've had some great guests as well. like Chris Velasco for episode 127. We had Paul Kane on episode 123. Max Lichter was with us for most of the Duels of Blood, which we'll get into further ahead. We had the great Simon Sacy on episode 116. He designed the Hellraiser box. And we had one of our sponsors, Don Bertram, on episode 113. So,
that was a fun one. I remember that being one of the better moments of one of the better interviews we did. I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, it was a great conversation.
Don.
Yeah, he's for people who don't know, he's a good friend of Clive Barker's and has been kind of an advocate for Clive Barker's art. In addition to what he does that you hear on every episode with with the commercials and stuff. But that was a really fun episode.
Yeah, and we got to have Max Lichter of Pyramid Gallery along, not just for Duels of Blood, but for a discussion that we did throughout several episodes about Hellraiser treatments that never got made. We got our hands on some of those, and we kind of... yeah.
I've completely forgotten about those until you brought them back up. They were so bad.
Yeah. A lot of those were pretty... I don't know if those would have made good Hellraiser movies. There were some good ideas in some of them, but some of them were just like painful to get through. It's like, I'm glad those didn't get made because that would have been really, really weird for the Hellraiser franchise. Anyway.
Yeah, well, did you know that if Pinhead crams Hitler's heart into a toddler, that he'll become the Antichrist?
Yeah. That was the name of one of our episodes.
Yeah, cramming Hitler's heart in a toddler.
Hmm.
I don't remember that one at all. Like I said, all those became like a blur.
Yeah,
just horrible.
Yeah, crazy. But we did have some really cool stuff that came like right at the end of the year, and I haven't had a chance to go through these really. But the Scarlet box, I think, is one of the coolest. We didn't ever know that. I mean, has Arrow ever done a Region A release of anything?
They have a Region A. They release now Region A subtitles, and they do Region B.
Okay.
So that's why we need Rob, because Rob knows all this stuff, and I have no idea.
This is. Yeah. I just figured it was a lost cause. I didn't, because like we've got Shout Factory here, and they won't do international releases. Their specialty is North America, so I thought Arrow was the same way in Europe.
So that's why people want. That's why people want Arrow to do the Nightbreed.
Yeah.
I guess the director's cut over there because they do both.
Well, and right. I think they would have no problem with it if it wasn't for some kind of legal issues.
Yeah. I think it all comes down to money and licensing fees. That's probably the thing that it comes down to.
Well, and Michael Plumides says that this Revolution that has the international rights to Nightbreed, nobody can ever get a hold of them, or like they don't respond to anything. They're a weird
Revolution
company.
Is Joe Roth's company, I think. He was one of the producers of Nightbreed, along with Robinson. So, I don't know. Let's see what happens. I know that Morgan Creek was selling their domestic library of movies, so I don't know where that's at right now. Yeah. Nightbreed is probably one of the titles up for sale, but I'm sure they'll sell this stuff as a package, not individually. So let's see.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got the Arrow box for Christmas.
Me too.
Thanks to my unofficial podcast producer, Sarah, my wife, and she got it for me, and that was a great gift. And I haven't had a chance to delve into it. We were actually talking about it earlier, and Rob, you were telling me to check out the last disc in the set because of some cool interviews with some Hellraiser directors, especially the direct-to-video movies. So I looked at the names of the discs, and I've leafed through the wonderful book that's written by Phil and Sarah about the Hellraiser franchise, and I'm looking forward.
Games.
Damnation Games.
I watched about 10 minutes of Hellraiser because my mom and stepdad, when I was in Washington, they got a UHD TV. So I'm like, I want to see what 2K looks like because I've never seen that, on a TV. So, but they were there, and it's like, I know they don't really want to see Hellraiser. So, I watched the opening credits, and I watched What's Your Pleasure, Sir? And then I skipped ahead past all of the Frank to, stuff, and to like Julia and her
That's
husband,
funny.
and moving in, I watched about 10 minutes, and then I had always planned on going back to it after they went to bed, but I just never didn't do it.
I have my in-laws here right now. They were visiting for New Year's Eve. So, yeah, actually, it was funny. I was talking about that yesterday with my father-in-law, and I was telling him, yeah, this is like Hellraiser's like, yeah, Pinhead. I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
So
that's
that's cool. Yeah. Well, they know about it. So that's fine. But I'm looking forward to getting into that. And I'm sure that I'll be getting into that maybe this week. And then for next episode, expect me to have my review of the set. So that's another thing to look forward.
Yeah, that was I think it's still available on Amazon if people want to get it. I definitely would recommend it. The price started out at like $120, but it's gone down to $79, I think, right?
Yeah, $129, I believe, when it showed up first for pre-order. But like Rob said, I mean, I was thinking, wow, this is expensive. And I remember Rob told me, well, sometimes they bring the pre-order price down. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. So it started going down to $89, and then $79. And then at one point it was like $60-something for pre-order. So that was a good price.
The American release ended up being cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
I think
that's always good.
That was pretty good for the American fans.
Rob, is the box, is it exactly the same? You probably don't have both. But did it
well,
look
he
like
doesn't need it
exactly the same except for the region?
Yeah.
I'll send you guys some pictures and you can compare it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I'm really excited about it, though. I can't wait to go, really dive into it. But, with traveling and stuff, and I've only just got back 2 days ago, I just haven't had the chance. And the other thing that was waiting for me when I got back is the Fiddleblack edition of The Last Illusion.
Oh, cool.
Oh, so you got a copy of it?
Yeah. I
cool.
I wanted to get it before it was sold out, and
how limited is this one? Is it like the Cabal
like
Fiddleblack edition?
Yeah.
Okay, so
there's only 300. Okay. I think it was it $40? 30, yeah, that's a great. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense because it's only one short story plus some, additional material. But the big thing, and reading it, and normally David is kind of skeptical and negative about a lot of stuff, but he was raving about the Phil and Sarah intro, and just talking about he got to learn more about Vipex and the great, what is it? The Great Beyond, or all of the
Great Unknown.
All of the story, the movies that didn't happen.
Yeah, cool. Harry D'Amour was supposed to have a prequel, right?
Yeah.
Called The Great Unknown. First Adventures of Harry D'Amour. I forgot the name of the title.
Yeah.
But we've talked about this before on the podcast, so.
Yeah, so there's like details about that stuff in there, which is great. I haven't read any of it yet, but. Really
I might have to get that because of that, because I've always been interested in the Vipex sequel that was supposed to be made.
Yeah.
I got to get a copy of that Last Illusion. I think I'll buy it today.
$30 isn't that bad. That's pretty cheap.
Yeah. They'll probably run out pretty quickly. Mine is, let's see what number mine is.
Is it signed?
No. I was surprised.
Okay.
I thought if there were only 300 of them, they'd get them autographed, but mine is 154.
Okay, that sounds good. I remember the Cabal actually was available for quite some time. It wasn't something that sold out like immediately. It was available for at least a couple of months, I believe. So
and it's one of those releases that you kind of start out skeptical anyway. Like with the Midnight Meat Train, you're kind of going, do we really need a single edition of a story that's in the Books of Blood? That one and like Cabal, it's like, am I going to really buy Cabal again? But the extra material in these, totally makes it worth it. And I love this painting, or it's like one of those ink blots on the cover of it's got Harry D'Amour with like swords around his face and stuff.
I want to ask you, did that come with that nice packaging that they did for the Cabal edition?
Yeah,
wrapped in black paper.
It was, with a string around it. That's really something. I mean, when I opened up the Cabal Fiddleblack edition, I was actually impressed with the packaging. I was like, wow, that really stands out as, being very careful and stuff. So yeah,
I really liked it. So I'm glad that they're doing the same for this one.
And for people interested, we Yeah, we did interview Jason Cook from Fiddleblack, going back, and that back at the time that the Cabal and other annotations came out. So that's a good one to go listen to.
Episode 55.
Wow,
that was it.
Wow, that's a ways back. That's like 80 episodes ago.
That was October 2013. So yes, it went some ways back during the time of Occupy Median, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, man, there was so much stuff going on with Nightbreed at that time.
Yeah. It was pretty cool. So, Imaginer 3 is also out, I think.
Yes, and I didn't buy that yet. I need to get it before they run out, but I don't have it.
Do you know if they're shipping it already?
Yeah. That's people have it and it's shipped out, and there's a pre-order for Imaginer 4.
There you go. Okay.
They're probably working on 5 as we speak.
Yeah.
They've been doing.
I think we got a little behind because of the transition for Imaginer 2. And then all of a sudden, Phil and Sarah had like 2. Okay, they're like, okay, 2 is done. You can pre-order 3. And then like in 6 months, they're like, okay, number 3 is done, and you can pre-order number 4.
Yeah, I remember when the first one was crowdfunded. I think it was it either Indiegogo or Kickstarter? I forgot. I think it was Kickstarter. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And the first and second were. I think the first was a Kickstarter from Seraphim, then the second one was a Kickstarter from.
It was also from Seraphim, but then it switched.
It was written by Thomas Negovan for the second volume, and now the third volume and fourth volume is being written by Phil and Sarah Stokes from Revelations. And
you just pre-order them directly off of CliveBarkerArchive.com instead of Kickstarter.
And I think that the plan is still to make the 8 volumes, one for each letter of Imaginer.
Yeah.
So when you put them all together on your shelf, you'll be able to spell out Imaginer with the books. And that sounds like a pretty cool idea.
And Phil and Sarah had told us a while back that they were going to have a making of Hellraiser book and a making of Nightbreed book, and that were coming out around 2015, 2016. So I wonder if this kind of threw a wrench into that. And I also wonder if their Hellraiser book is the same one that's in Scarlet box, or if it's
Damnation Games.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we can ask them. They're always available.
I remember them saying on the Revelation when I was still on Facebook that some of that stuff is, it's in their book, but their book is much more, it's bigger. It's much more big book.
Comprehensive, yeah. That's cool. I trust them to make a good job on that because they're very exhausting Clive Barker archivists. I mean, if you've read some of the memory, prophecy, and fantasy books, you'll see that they have a lot of attention to detail, and they really like to create the story, the narrative, and transport you in it. So that's something to look forward to.
And Phil and Sarah, if you're listening, we still want to talk to you on the podcast.
Anytime you guys want to come on, just let us know.
Yeah.
We'll bend backwards.
Yeah.
Hey, another thing that was really cool, especially for like Hellraiser fans, was that this year, Paul Kane finally published a story called Sherlock Holmes and the Servants of Hell. And we had him on the podcast this year on episode 113, I believe. 123. I'm sorry. 123. So we had Paul Kane back, and we talked about the Sherlock Holmes and the Servants of Hell, and it's a wonderful alternate reality story that takes place in the time of Sherlock Holmes and Watson. And there's a lot of characters there that Hellraiser fans will recognize immediately, even though they're dressed in a different attire and live in London.
And their names are a little bit different.
Yeah, and their names are a little bit different. Yeah. But it was a really fun story, and we all read it. I think I read it. I think were you available for I think Ryan, you didn't. You weren't a part of the episode with Paul Kane because
I hadn't read the book in time, and I still haven't finished it. I need to read that. I got really behind and.
You're in for a pretty interesting ride.
It's a treat, yeah.
Really fun stuff.
I'll get to work on that.
Since the book has been out for a while, did y'all ever? Well, Jose, did you? Well, no, I don't want to talk about it since Ron's not finished it. So.
Okay. Well, and some of our listeners also may have not read it.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, you can ask me that through message afterwards.
Yeah, I'll ask you.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, Sherlock Holmes and the Servants of Hell had a beautiful cover. I think Derek Neal of Configuration Boxes made a box to commemorate that, called the Red Box, the Servants Box. So if you're into Derek Neal's work with Configuration Boxes, you might want to look at that and see if there's still any available.
It's kind of neat to see this kind of this sort of peripheral fan enthusiasm for Hellraiser, despite what the movies have done to the franchise.
Yeah. I think that the franchise has been holding on the first few movies, holding on to the franchise in the hopes that, hey, if they do a remake or if they do another movie in the future, maybe they'll finally make it right. Although that's something, I guess you have to be real optimistic.
Yeah.
But if Clive Barker ever gets involved with one of these, I support it.
So this last thing on my list, I don't even know if it came out. I don't think so. The Great and Secret Show limited edition by Gauntlet Press. I think that must have been pushed back into 2017, right?
Yeah, I remember that. The cover has a Clive Barker painting on it with a couple of demons. Yeah. I haven't seen anything about it being released, so maybe that's been pushed away a little bit longer.
I think so.
Maybe for another quarter.
They came out with the announcement of the Evervol Deluxe Edition too.
Yeah,
from that same company, Gauntlet.
Right. It's like, hey, finish the other one first.
So we're announcing the second one.
Yeah.
Actually, it's funny because I'm looking at the Gauntlet Press website right now, and it's available for sale. It says The Great and Secret Show. It goes from $35 to $300 for the limited edition, and it's available to buy right now. So,
but that might just still be a pre-order.
Yeah, probably.
I've never seen anybody showing off one or saying, hey, look what arrived, and we're on every...
Yeah, me neither. In the Clive Barker collecting groups and stuff like that, I haven't seen any copies yet, so I'm sure this is still kind of like open pre-order for it.
Yeah.
But it seems like it's going to be great because it's got handwritten pages from Clive's first draft of the novel, notes, along with some doodles from Clive Barker, pages with Clive Barker's handwritten corrections from the first type draft of the book, and brand new Clive Barker black and white interior illustrations.
Yeah.
So and the cover is going to be expressly drawn for the book by Clive Barker. That's a lot of bonus material there. So keep an eye out for that one. Go to gauntletpress.com and look for it. You'll find it there for order.
So for the future, I guess that's kind of really it for releases in 2016. It's been kind of a slow year, but in the future, there's some cool stuff coming out. I guess this first one on my list, we have to take with a grain of salt. Hellraiser Judgment. Despite the fact that I was just hyping up how cool everything was, we don't really know how good Hellraiser Judgment is going to be.
Well, it's written and directed by Gary Tunnicliffe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Who's been an effects artist for Hellraiser movies and other movies like
My Bloody Valentine.
Yeah. My Bloody Valentine. So he finally got a chance to direct and write this movie, and let's see what happens. I know he had a previous project that he tried crowdfunding. It was called Judgment, and it was not a Hellraiser movie. But then he came up with this one, Hellraiser Judgment, that he insists has nothing to do with the previous movie Judgment. He says it's a completely different script. It's a Hellraiser movie. So it's got plenty of interesting characters in there. And let's see if he can do it right.
What's the date on that coming out? Is it March?
Yes, it was March of this year.
Probably a video demand. So that's just in a couple of months.
Right. So I wonder if they already had a private screening, to fulfill their obligation to get it done in 2016.
Yeah,
I'm sure we'll be hearing about it when it happens. If from the regular websites like Bloody Disgusting or Dread Central or something like that.
And Rob, I was just kidding when I said you have to come watch Hellraiser Judgment with us. You don't really.
No.
I mean, if
he has to.
No, I mean I will. I mean I like doing the commentary.
Yeah, I know, but we don't want. Well, we can do other. There's a couple other commentaries we didn't get to either, but we can do those too.
Please share the pain with us.
Yeah. I'll do that because I love you.
Pain is pleasure.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Indivisible.
Yeah,
sometimes.
Invisible.
Yeah, I think with like Hellraiser Revelations, it was just pain.
Yeah.
But for Hellraiser fans, it's going to be an interesting year because there's also going to be a new project that's being done in-house at Seraphim, and it's going to be strictly involving Seraphim and Clive Barker. It's going to be Hellraiser Anthology, the comic book, a graphic novel by Seraphim Inc. So they've gathered some talent, and some of it you might remember from other episodes that we've talked about, like Barbie Wilde's book, The Venus Complex, and I think other books that she published, like Voices of the Damned, had some artists contribute art to it, and namely Danielle Serra. Mm-hmm. She made the cover for The Venus Complex, and she's working on Hellraiser Judgment. So it's going to be an anthology-style comic book project, and I don't know if it's going to be several different authors, but I've been checking out some of the pages that Danielle Serra has been making for this, and they look pretty amazing.
I thought like Christian Francis and Mark Miller and Ben Mears for sure were writing, and then they had other guests as well.
So it's going to be kind of like that mini-series that came out with the Hellraiser from Boom Comics. Remember that?
Yeah, the last one was Bestiary. Yeah. I think it will be similar to Bestiary, only they'll have complete control of it.
Mm-hmm. So maybe we'll get to see stuff that they couldn't do when there was like Marvel or Boom Comics or something like that.
And
it looked pretty graphic.
And I guess it'll be just for sale off of their realclivebarker.com website. Yes. So I'm wondering if they'll be able to offer it as a subscription, or if you have to buy each one, individually.
I know what they said was that there will be the choice of a hardcover graphic novel or a PDF, a DRM-free PDF. So
I want to get the hardcover for sure on that.
Yeah.
Actual physical copy.
It's going to be pretty sweet.
Oh, Imaginer 4, we kind of talked about already. That'll be coming out in 2017. Well, there was an announcement about a TV show for the Great and Secret Show, but that doesn't mean the show is going to come out in 2017. In fact, I kind of doubt that it will.
Mm-hmm. Is that the one being written by Josh Stolberg?
Boom.
No, that's Weaveworld, right? Yeah.
Well, he might have been. It might be both.
Okay. Sometimes it's hard to keep track of all these projects. It's,
I know.
I know we should be the ones to know about this, but sometimes it's kind of hard.
Yeah.
But hey, a Great and Secret Show, TV show, that sounds like a really good idea. So
yeah, next announced, I guess the body book was another thing that was supposed to come out in 2016, but it didn't make it.
Yeah, that's going to be the story, The Body Politic, and that story from the Books of Blood with the guy who goes to jail and meets his
ancestor or something
in the flesh.
In the flesh.
In the flesh.
So that's something that's coming out, I think, on the second quarter or first quarter of 2017. So I'm looking at the page from Dark Regions about the body book, and it still says it's a new release. They have payment plans available for like the deluxe editions. It's $80 for this book. It's going to be a limited 500 signed hardcover. So I'm looking for release dates, more info. It says that the book is currently in pre-order and expected in stock in Q1 of 2017. So I guess we have until springtime to wait for this book.
So I was a little confused about this book. Did it have? Were there two covers for it, or did they just change the cover from the Clive Barker drawing to that photograph?
That's my question too. I wonder what they're going to do here with that. I like the book. I like the cover with the man on it, the actual man. That's pretty cool.
And they said that was an alternate cover or something, but I didn't understand if they changed to that or if it was originally, or if that was a different edition or.
I don't know. It could vary from edition to edition because I know that there was a blue cover with a Clive Barker drawing on it, and then they changed it to a photo that Clive took of a model who's painted. Yeah. So I think at the time they said they changed it to that, so that the first one might have been like a tentative cover, and this one was going to be the definitive. So I think that's my recollection. So I don't know.
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, this book has been delayed a few times, I think. It was supposed to have come out in 2016, but now it says first quarter of 2017. So hopefully it'll come out soon.
And that seems to be sort of par for the course for these little limited edition books, except for Fiddleblack. Fiddleblack, they just come out of nowhere. It's like, hey, you can buy this now. And you're like, what? What is that? But
it's weird.
But all the other ones are all like you pre-order them, and then a year and a half or 2 years later, it's like it comes to your door and you can't remember. It's like, oh, I didn't even know if I bought that or not. I couldn't remember.
Yeah. Well, there's a press release from Dark Regions, and I'll add that to the show notes.
Okay. There we go.
Okay. Yeah.
Infernal Parade is another one of those. Supposed to be February 2017. And I forget. I think that's Subterranean, right? Is doing that one. The same people that did
Tortured
Souls.
That's right. It's going to have a cover with like a big dragon or something on it.
Yeah.
I think.
I've never read the book, so I've never heard the little stories. I'm on the fence about getting it. I don't know how long it'll be. I've heard it's very short.
Yeah, it's going to have artwork and stuff too, I think, to make up for it. But yeah,
it's going to be the stories that are in the boxes for the Infernal Parade figures that were put out by McFarlane Toys.
Yeah, so they're not as long as like the Tortured Souls stories, but they are longer than I thought when I went back and looked at them online.
Mm-hmm. You can find those over the years. People who have collected the figurines, they have transcribed the stories and they put them up in blog posts and websites and stuff. So I've read a few. They're interesting. Some of them are a little better than others, but I don't think Clive Barker ever thought about publishing this as a novel of sorts. I mean, I think that's not really a novel or an anthology. It's mainly just stuff that you'd find in the back of a figure, an action figure. So, but hey, it definitely has that touch, that Clive Barker magic,
And Clive Barker wrote it. I've always wanted to collect every short story that he's written, and this sort of counts. So I'm happy
including some of the most obscure ones, like the Jump Tribe stories.
yeah, exactly. Right? and they may be working on a Jump Tribe book too. I mean, we'll see if it ever gets announced. But
yeah.
Are those dolls you have?
Yeah, the little plushy guys.
Yeah.
And it would be. I wonder if there are more stories, for toys that didn't get produced,
or drawings by Clive Barker that they can add to it.
Yeah. Well, there have Sketches. To be. There was a gigantic poster that had hundreds of, or like 100 of those guys. But there were only 6 that were made.
Oh, that's too bad, man.
Yeah.
Now I want to see the rest of them. They're like Pokemon.
Yeah.
Got to collect them all.
Yeah, exactly. That would be fun.
Yep.
So
let's hope for the best.
Another Clive Barker independent publishing venture is the Thief of Always Anniversary Edition.
Mm-hmm. Isn't it beautiful? Like the cover?
Oh yeah, it's amazing. And that dust jacket. If you take the dust jacket off, then it has the original Clive Barker painting underneath with like key art, right? Like it has no titles or anything on it.
Yeah,
it's so gorgeous.
The wraparound.
Like, the one with Mr. Hood, the painting with Mr. Hood in the house, and he's like smiling, and his face is part of the landscape, and then it extends onto the back cover, and it's really something to see.
And a lot of the feedback that I got when I posted the story about that was like, oh, that's too expensive for me, and everybody's looking at what they really want is the $450 one that has stuff from the screenplay. of the movie that didn't get produced.
Right. There's a standard edition that's going to be $70, and there's going to be the deluxe edition that's $425.
Yeah.
So the standard edition comes with some extra material like the unused art archive, an extensive gallery of unused and alternate artwork. It's got Thieves from Around the World, an extensive gallery of cover images from editions worldwide, which is always interesting to see how other countries have illustrated the books. And it's going to be limited and numbered to just 200 copies signed by Clive Barker. So for $70, it's not a bad deal.
Yeah.
The deluxe edition, however, it's going to have the deluxe tray case. It's going to have more extra material, including, the stuff that was in the one I just talked about, and excerpts from Clive's handwritten manuscript pages of the first draft handwritten manuscript, Chapter 1, and the early draft handwritten manuscript, Chapter 1, first and early handwritten. I'm guessing it's just going to be things that are going to be different from draft to draft. So they're probably going to show us some of those different beginnings for the book.
Yeah.
And alternate beginning, first scenes, last scenes, Chapter 1, manuscript extras, and it comes with 4 A5 art prints, limited in number to just 100 copies signed by Clive Barker. And the 4 art prints are going to feature, there's a picture of that. So it's got the crab holding the Noah's Ark from under the water. It's got the picture of the kid at the edge of the lake with the trees behind him. It has another one with the masks that are hanging from a wall where you can see a pinhead mask. Mm-hmm. And it's got that great-looking page that has the Noah's Ark sinking into the water and being eaten by those big fish. I'm not going to spoil what the fish are, but those are the 4 prints that come with it. So they look great. I mean, 3 of them look great. The one with the masks, I can take it or leave it, but the one with the fish eating the Noah's Ark is really beautiful, as is the one with Harvey Swick standing at the edge of the lake.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's unfortunate those prints only come with you understand why, but, the $425 one, which is out of reach for a lot of us. It's I'm not going to be able to get that one. I'll get the $70 one.
What screenplay is it? Is it going to be Bernard Rowe's screenplay? Or,
I guess so. I guess we'll have to wait and see if someone gets it to find out.
Excuse me, what screenplay are you guys talking about?
I don't know. That's what Ron said. There was a screenplay.
Yeah, there's a excerpts from a Thief of Always screenplay that comes in the $425 edition.
Oh, okay, because I was reading that, and I didn't see anything about the screenplay. I just saw, excerpts from Clive's handwritten manuscript pages. I guess you're looking at probably the website. I'm just looking at our own blog post. Maybe that was left out. It's okay.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Oops. Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Oh, I just saw it. Here it is.
Okay.
You're right. Screenplay, handwritten manuscript, first scenes. Got it.
Yeah. So it's not the whole screenplay. Of course, they wouldn't want to give that away for a movie that might still happen. But
I was going to say, if they're going to give the screenplay away, is that pretty much the end of the movie, or are they not making it?
Yeah, good question. Yeah. I don't know. Every time Clive Barker gets asked about it, he says, I would love that to happen. It's just in limbo, or, how these things go. So I don't think it's... we don't know for sure that it's dead. It's just, not something...
There's nothing like that on the market. There's nothing like that on the market right now.
No.
That really brings somebody into...
Yeah.
That movie, I think, originally was going to be...
Animated?
Was it going to be like a Nightmare Before Christmas thing, where they did that kind of animation?
I think it was going to be drawn animation.
Yeah, I think that's how I remember it, too, was drawn.
And it was being worked on by... Oliver Parker, I think.
Yeah.
The guy who played Pelican and Moving Man and Hellraiser.
But
I think he was the one.
Talked about it being live action too, and it's hard to remember which directors go with which.
Oh, that would be tremendous. Yeah. If they could come up with that would be tremendous. I would really love to see live action depictions of Rictus and Carne and all those sets that they would have to come up with for it. It would be just amazing.
Better than a Smurfs movie or whatever. There's so much crap,
I know. I was looking at that the other day. I was in Las Vegas this week, and I went into one of those shops where they have these framed posters where they're signed by people, or sometimes there's a guitar signed by like Stevie Ray Vaughan or something. And there was one cast signed poster of Smurfs 2 that cost like $1,000 or something. And I'm like, there's got to be some collector out there who's going to like it, but I wouldn't buy it for $1, you know. But
I gotta have the Smurfs 2 poster.
Yeah, I know. What a waste of your wall space.
I think it was $1,600, if I can recall.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah. It was framed. It had like the cast signed, the whole Smurfs 2 poster. Go figure. You know, I'm not. If it works for you, that's fine. I mean, I just wouldn't. Yeah. I wouldn't buy it. But that's. Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of crap out there. Yeah, I kept complaining about the fact that Nightbreed was not on Blu-ray yet, but Beverly Hills Chihuahua 2 was, and it was kind of a running gag during Occupy Midian.
Yeah.
I remember that. So another item on the list is that Tommy Hutson, the guy who did Never Sleep Again, the Elm Street Legacy documentary, he's doing a Clive Barker documentary.
Oh. Yeah, and this might be a little bit of a stretch. That's probably not a 2017 project either. I mean, maybe it'll be shot in 2017, but you know, who knows for sure. But
he also did Crystal Lake Memories, the complete history of Friday the 13th.
Yeah,
that's an excellent documentary on that franchise.
Mm-hmm. He's a really cool documentarian. So I hope that this project will be able to pull through, and because if it does, we'll have an awesome documentary about Clive Barker.
Do they explain what the deal is with Jason? What is he? He was a little kid, and then all of a sudden he's an adult zombie.
They didn't really get into that. They just went through each film, just talking about behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, production and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He was a little kid who drowned in the first movie, and then in the second movie he was an adult zombie with a bag on his head, and then after that he had a hockey mask.
I'm going to pass that on to Rob because he probably knows the franchise better than I do.
Yeah. The original, in the original film, he was it was just a dream. He didn't exist.
Yeah.
He was not supposed to be. There was never going to be a Jason.
Right. It was a kid who died because the camp counselor.
The little girl was just dreaming. I mean, the woman that survived that first film.
And the mom was the actual killer.
Yeah.
Jason's mom. Yeah. But anyway, so he did that, and he's also been involved with More Brains, a Return to the Living Dead, apparently.
Mm.
Oh, cool.
They Won't Stay Dead, a look at Return of the Living Dead Part 2. Scream, the inside story. His name was Jason, 30 Years of Friday the 13th. So, yeah, this guy seems like he's a really good writer for all these documentaries, and he's directed, a few things. So, yeah, I mean, there's been some failed attempts at making Clive Barker documentaries. I mean, I remember one was supposed to be about Clive Barker, and he actually created a Cenobite to feature in the documentary. You remember that?
Yeah.
And somehow that just never happened. I think they just couldn't get either funding or budget to do it. So Tommy, I forgot his name. Hang on. Tommy Hutson. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, so Tommy Hutson, this is going to be a cool thing to look out for. But like you said, probably not for this year.
Yeah, I would think so.
And then, I hope it's going to be something really long, you know. I mean, talking about his movies, his art, the novels, stuff like that. You can really just all kinds of possibilities for this documentary because it's a.
And speaking of novels, Mark Miller had mentioned a long time ago when we talked to him about Next Testament that the original conception of that was going to be a novel that he co-wrote with Clive Barker. But then Clive Barker had said, why don't you make this into a comic instead? And so they did, and it was a pretty successful comic book. But now the novelization is happening, and I don't know if it's all written by Mark Miller or, how
I think it is.
Collaboration on that is going to work. I mean, I think, Clive Barker is given credit for a lot of the comic book as well. So, but it seems like it's more Mark Miller's project.
Yeah, it seems like it's based on an idea by Clive Barker and Mark Miller, but it's the novel is Mark Miller's work. I don't think Clive Barker wrote anything there. Yeah. Wishing them all the best, because if Clive Barker needs something, is to get a self-publishing thing going on, because that would really help in putting out all the stuff that he wants to put out on his own terms, on his own terms. Yeah. So he doesn't have to worry about, whether or not the publisher thinks that it's appropriate or, this and that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. You don't put Clive Barker Presents on the cover of a book, so I wonder how that's going to be attributed, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Miller and Clive Barker, or I guess
wishing all the best.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's been tweeting about it. Mark Allen Miller, go check out his tweets. He's at Mark Allen Miller. He's been talking about the book. So keep tracking his Twitter for more news about this.
So I wonder how far along that is. Also, do we know? I mean, is it done? Is he ready to? Is he just waiting for publishing, or?
Possibly. Yeah. I guess we can always ask Mark Miller. Maybe bring him in when the book comes out. That would be something to do in 2017.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
He recently became a father, didn't he?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yep. So his life is probably kind of upside down with that. I mean, I know. It's hard when the baby has to sleep every 2 hours and wake up every 2 hours, all day, all night. Yeah.
Well, I wish him the best of luck with this novelization. Hope it is successful for him.
Yeah.
I liked the comic book. I thought it was good. There was some. It's kind of
same here.
Yeah.
It just was really, the art was really. It was really interesting art. The artist, I can't remember. It was a female. It was really good art.
Jaime Yang.
Yeah.
Yeah. Earthling Publications is publishing this, the novelization. It's coming out in early 2017. But Earthling Publications is set to publish the novelization of Clive Barker's Next Testament comic in early 2017. Mark Miller, who co-wrote the comic series, has written the adaptation, to which Clive has added his artwork and a foreword. And the introduction comes from F. Paul Wilson. I don't know who that is, to be honest. Earthling is set to accept pre-orders for 3 editions of Next Testament from 12 September 2016. And the 3 editions are a gift edition signed by the author at $45, deluxe edition limited to 100 numbered copies signed by Mark, Clive, and F. Paul Wilson, and a 125 lettered edition limited to 15 copies signed by Mark, Clive, and F. Paul Wilson at $500. And says here, Next Testament, Mark Miller in an email to Revelation said, Next Testament is a project that is deeply personal for me. I want to thank Clive for allowing me to collaborate with him from the beginning of the project and for writing a foreword that moved me to tears. I also want to thank Boom Studios for giving the story a home in its original comic form, where it can live on perpetuity and find new and exciting incarnations. And finally, I want to thank Paul Miller and Earthling Publications for publishing my first novel. Their guidance from editing to printing has been a thrill. I hope those who pick up the book are as changed by reading its words as I was writing them. So that's something to look forward to.
So that's past tense. That means he did finish writing it.
Yeah. Got it done.
Yep.
Cool.
So
that character Wick came out of a model session between him and Clive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a body painting.
I guess that leading into our next part. We've talked about some of these, but what are some of the things over 2016, some of the fun things that we did with the podcast, or for the podcast, as a result of like our fundraiser? One of mine was just replaying and reviewing Jericho. It was a really long process because it was really heavy on editing. But it was a lot of fun revisiting that game. Because normally, without an excuse like that, you've got all these. There's always new games and new books to read and new movies to watch, and you don't always go back to these. But it was really fun going back and playing Jericho again.
Oh, I'm sure. So you played it on the PlayStation 4, right?
Xbox 360.
Ah, there you go.
That was a good video you made too. It was really put together really well. Well made.
And it was cool because we got the chance to we got an excuse to talk to Chris Velasco, who did the soundtrack for it.
Yeah, that was fun. So
that was really cool.
We got to make a whole episode with him and use excerpts from that in my video.
Yeah, I thought the Duels of Blood was pretty fun. It was pretty much your idea, but then we kind of all got roped into it, I guess.
Yeah.
But in a good way. But it was fun because we got to do some cool episodes with Max Lichter at Pyramid Gallery, and he also helped promote the Duels of Blood. So thank you, Max, for that. And it was fun because we got 48 characters together. We did kind of a March Madness / Muppet Cast bracket system. And how many rounds was it? Yeah. It was like 6 rounds.
By the results.
Yeah.
I didn't think Julia took it, didn't she?
Yes.
Yeah. Julia was the winner.
It was like 6 rounds, and I think Julia won the final round against Aaron Boone, Cabal.
Wow.
So, very surprising.
That was stressful for me to sort of throw that in while we were still trying to get our other stuff done. Our other commentaries and interviews and things like that. But would you guys want to do it again, or and listeners, would you want to do it again?
I would love to do it again. There's certainly enough characters in the Clive Barker universe that we can come up with another 48 to do Duels of Blood Part 2.
Or I think it's 64 to start with.
Yeah. Oh, 64. Okay.
Yeah, 64.
Yeah. There's plenty. I mean, just go to Nightbreed. There's plenty of characters there.
Yeah.
Hellraiser, there's still enough and more Cenobites, I think, that we can use.
Yeah.
And Jesus, just go to Weave World. You have all these characters that we can use. Imagica.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scopeak.
Well, and you would have a completely different result just by pairing them up differently to start with.
Yep.
And
now the obvious ones are gone, so it'll be more interesting to see how people will attach themselves to some characters, and
Yeah.
So another moment was making our first commentary track, which was Transmutations.
Oh yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That was very fun.
It's kind of, it's funny that watching that movie like 3 times in preparation for that, and it started growing on me a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to hate it, and I would fall asleep every time I watched it. But the more I watched it, the more I liked the the 80s sort of synth soundtrack and
by Fleur.
Yeah.
That's the name of the band. And I was coming up with like little trivia by Googling up the names of boats and stuff.
Yeah.
And I ended up finding out that there was a guy who had like strip clubs in London, and that was the boat that was featured on the movie. It was his boat. And go back and listen to it because it's a hoot. It's a hoot.
Yeah.
I always remember the paintings by that character.
Roy. Yeah,
they're terrible paintings. They're so terrible.
And my favorite was when she's lying in the bed and they're playing that "You're So Beautiful," and then they go out on the landing outside and you can hear it like muffled, like she's actually like the song is actually in the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, that was awful.
Nicole.
And the poor actor who played he played in the Indiana Jones movies.
That was
I forgot his name.
Skill.
Mother's, was it? No. No, it was the doctor. It was the doctor. I'm talking about the guy who played the doctor.
Yes.
Who made the drug. He was a character on the Indiana Jones movie. God, I know the name. Anyway, he was one of those guys who worked at the museum with Harrison Ford's character.
Okay. Yeah, I know which character you're talking about, but I can't think of his name right now.
Yeah,
I know you got his name is. Gosh, yeah, I know you're talking about though.
There's people screaming at their phones right now or whatever because they know.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. I just got back from Vegas, so I killed a lot of brain cells there.
Okay.
That's my excuse.
Yeah.
And Rob's sick. So.
Yeah.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Right.
Yeah, or leaves within 3 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
But so you also played another review of the Nightbreed action game on the Amiga, right?
Yes. Yeah, Nightbreed action game and the Nightbreed the interactive movie, both. Mm-hmm. But the action game was actually fun to play.
Did you finally escape that scene where you have to run away from Pelican and you have to click the buttons on your gamepad?
No, I never got through that part. But the action game, I made it all the way through. It was just the interactive movie one I just couldn't make it.
Was it the one that you kept running out of fuel because you had to go through these roads to get to Midian, and
yeah, right.
You keep coming across police roadblocks, or you run out of fuel. We never saw Boone run out of fuel, did we?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That would have thrown a wrench into the story.
That would have been a funny moment in the. Yeah, I remember when Boone ran out of gas and didn't make it to Midian.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then you've been playing Undying also.
Yeah, I have. I've reached the chapter of the ritual stones, and I went through it, and I got another couple of episodes ready to go. So I'm going to upload them this week. And it's been fun. I mean, that game is definitely underrated. But I guess you'll see me die a few times in the first few episodes because I was still getting the hang of the controls and stuff. But
I love that game. I had a really cool villain at the end.
Yeah,
It's really cool.
I like seeing it with the widescreen mod and the little texture patch. It makes it look a little better, although the graphics are pretty dated. But the gameplay itself is, I think a lot of Clive Barker's stuff is in there. I mean, I think a lot of Clive's
the creatures,
creatures and stuff. That
he even has a cameo in the game.
Well,
yeah, he plays the voice of a character, I think.
Yeah, I meant to ask you, maybe I asked you this already, I can't remember, but the widescreen mod, does it stretch out the screen, or does it give you more screen real estate on the sides?
It does both a little bit. You kind of see things a little stretched out, especially during cutscenes, but when you're playing, it just gives you a wider field of view. It fills up the widescreen. Yeah. I think it was made by some Italian fans because I believe that one of the most active modding communities for Undying was from Italy. I think that the website is still up, and you have custom-made levels and stuff that you can play, I think. I never tried one of those, but I know that they have those. So.
It seems like World War I sneaks into a lot of Clive Barker's stuff. And, it's there in Undying, for sure.
The beginning of the Damnation game, too.
Yeah, and Nightbreed, the Berserkers were from World War I.
Yeah.
Ryan, this year you've also finally completed your Imagica card game.
Yeah, I did. And so now I've got this huge box full of extra cards that I'm trying to sell off because I can't. There's no trading anymore, so I'm just trying to sell them all. And,
Ben Orchard got you the last one that you needed.
Yeah, which was really cool. And the other thing is I've been able to sell some of the cards to one of the artists. And so every time you see him posting like, "Hey, here's a big print of my painting with the little card in front of it," it was because he bought that card from me.
Oh, that is so cool. Yeah. And on eBay, the name is CB_podcast.
Yeah.
So if you go on eBay, look it up, and I'm sure Ryan will put some more cards up soon.
Oh, yeah. I let them all expire because I was, I sold a bunch of them right in the beginning, and then it started to peter out. But eBay was sending me bills for $60 a month for having, 300 listings on there.
Oh, yeah.
So I let it go, which I was kind of loath to do because it took me a whole weekend to list all those.
Right.
Yeah.
Another episode that I had a really good time this year was when we discussed Imagica on episode 126 with Ben Warren, who was one of our Kickstarter contributors. And he wanted to be a part of the episode, and it was a really cool episode that we did, something that we've been looking forward to for the whole year.
Yeah.
And sorry that we ended up doing it in December, but it was like, other things got in the way. But we finally did it. I think it was a pretty good episode, and I was pretty honored to listen to his composition that he did, a track called The Cradle of Chershemit. So he put it up on SoundCloud, and we used that for that episode. And it was pretty amazing. So thanks, Ben Warren, for
it's a great guy.
And I think
being with us during this episode.
I think, was that on your wall or on the Clive Barker podcast feed? I saw that you had posted up a link to his SoundCloud.
It was on our Facebook page on the podcast today. I was saying one of the great moments of 2016 was episode 126 with Ben Warren. So
Yeah.
I put it, and he commented on it. He said, "Thanks, guys. It was fun." And so it was great. I love it when we get other fans to come in here and nerd out with us for a little bit. And,
Yeah.
It's always fun. Which brings us to also having Don Bertram was a big deal for me. He's extremely knowledgeable Clive Barker collector. He's a philanthropist. He's an artist. He contributes to the Texas Children's Hospital with his program.
Celebrate Imagination.
Celebrate Imagination. So it was very good to have him on the show and talk about all the different Clive Barker exhibits that he saw and all the stuff that some of it I only heard of and others I completely forgot about, but he's very knowledgeable about it, and it was a true treat to be able to share some stuff with him and become friends with him on Facebook. So thanks, Don.
Yeah.
Yes. I really support what he does. That's really cool, helping, out what he does is really nice.
Yeah, celebrate imagination.
Yeah.
So I guess coming up, the next thing we're going to be doing will be an episode about our new fundraiser, and so we've got some pretty good ideas. I think we're 90% of the way figured out as far as like what we're going to do. I had kind of reached out for some to see if there were any more donations for it, but I think we might have come to the end of that. So I think we're going to be ready to put it up. So we'll time our next episode to talk about that, and we've got some really cool prizes and cool stuff that we're going to be doing for that. So some exclusive stuff that you're not going to be able to find anywhere else.
Yeah, I look forward to that.
Yeah, and a new T-shirt design, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jose did a good job last year on that the one T-shirt. I look forward to seeing the new one.
Yeah. It's I came up with something based on an idea that you had, Rob, and I think I did it justice, added a few more things to it.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that'll be cool.
Yeah.
I have that saved as my background on my computer.
Okay, cool.
Original when you said it was really good.
Oh,
I look forward to it.
You've always been a big part of this ever since you got into the Clive Barker podcast, and now that this episode we're announcing that you're kind of moving on to other things. I wrote something that I would like to read about on the episode. I'm just going to read it now. Rob, I've known you for probably the best part of maybe 10 years. We first connected online on the forum of the Hellbound Web. That was a website for the Hellraiser film fan community. Created by Matt Rexer. And you've always been a pretty open person. I think we've kept in touch for a long time because of that. Even though we had a couple of years away, we reconnected through Facebook. So we pretty much stayed in constant contact for the last few years. Hopefully we'll be able to hang out in the near future, in person, watch some movies, maybe even visit each other. Your enthusiasm and your desire to get into the filmmaking world is a passion that I've seen you have since I've known you. You generally know more about movies than I do. You've devoted a lot of time reporting on news on the BarkerCast, and you put us on the map, not just as another nerd podcast, but another news outlet by fans and for the fans. So life takes a lot of turns. Our priorities change to make room for other interests and needs. It's how we move forward, how we better ourselves, how we explore new paths and make new friends. We shouldn't mourn our past experiences that we moved on from, because they're a part of us forever. And it means that we've had our fill and we're ready for the next adventure. And, finally, staying in the same spot can stagnate things if we're not careful. We are lucky when we have enough good friends to keep us motivated and ambitious. I wish my friend Rob all the best in your future projects, whether they're private or public. I know we'll always stay in touch by phone, in person, or by message. And we'll continue to pester you to come on the show again and discuss Hellraiser Judgment with us.
Oh, okay, thank you. I can look at it in here.
I really appreciate that, man. That really makes me...
Got it. Thank you, Joey.
Okay, sorry that Joey kind of interrupted us. But,
that's okay. But I really appreciate that. I've had blast coming on the podcast. One of the biggest things that I've enjoyed about doing it is, like I said in my reflection, I was getting to know y'all. But this helped me get back into, wanting to write and tell stories again, knowing, to know Clive Barker's world and it got me back into that kind of passion and wanting to be a writer. And like I said, it's kind of sad. I don't really want to leave, but it's just, you have to just realize sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do to get things going,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I love talking to you guys. You're great guys. I hope I can just maybe I can call y'all through Skype. Maybe if I can just message y'all and talk,
Yeah, anytime.
Through Skype, just to talk for 5-10 minutes or something.
Sure. We'll do that. We'll do that for sure. I mean,
I think that would be something that just would be cool to do, just like a 5-minute,
absolutely.
10-minute chat for a month.
Yeah. Anytime you want to talk, just let me know. I mean, you got my phone number.
Yeah. But I really appreciate that. Makes me feel good that people.
Yeah.
I do try to help out as much as I can, and I put my 100% in anything I do, and I'm glad people notice that, and it makes me, that makes me feel good that people do notice it, and
Absolutely. This stuff is always going to be around, so you're always going to be a part of this show. And again, you're always welcome to come back at any time you want.
Yeah.
If you feel like you want to step in and be like, hey, I got this really cool book, or I read this book and I would like to make a review. It's your house. This is your house, and you're welcome to come in at any time.
Yeah, there could be a time I want to write, like maybe, like I said, a review of maybe I'll do a review of Hellraiser Judgment and just send it to y'all and say, can y'all post this for me? And I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, there's times like that. I love to write articles and things like that. Still, I just gotta, like I said, go in a direction of more where I think where life needs to go.
Right. I'm sure we all have changes we need to do, and everybody has to make some hard decisions sometimes. But like I said, this is what makes us grow. This is what pushes us into, the future that we want for ourselves. And again, nothing's going to change in our friendship. Nothing.
Oh, no.
Nothing at all. Yeah. We're still going to talk every day, and we're still going to be able to talk on the phone, and it's just not going to be a public conversation anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why I'm not that sad to see you go, because I know you're still going to be my friend. And again, you and Ryan, you've become like almost, surrogate brothers to me.
Like, my brothers, yeah.
Absolutely. It's been really fun doing these things with you. So I hope we've had a lot of fun, and I hope we can have more fun in the future.
Oh, definitely.
After this emotional moment.
Yeah, I know.
I know, guys. Just hang in there. But yeah, so Hellraiser Bloodlines documentary progress. It's coming along. we're thinking about doing it episodically, and then come up with a full video after that. So we got some good information from Revelations and Paul Kane and other people like Peter Atkins, who was involved with the first 4 Hellraisers. So I'm about to start making some video content. So stay tuned for that. It'll show up on our YouTube channel, on youtube.com/user/BarkerCast. I think that's the right URL.
I think that's going to be. You really worked hard on that, and I think it's going to turn out really well.
Yeah, I found out a lot of locations thanks to you, and you made a pretty good analysis of the script that you've shared with us, and you made a blog post about it. So
that's something I need. I could post. I've written the first part of the 18th century. I was going to do an analysis of what's different about the movie compared to the script. I have the first part of that. I ought to just start posting that in pieces too, because it's pretty long.
Yeah. It is. It's almost as long as the script. But yes. Also, there's stuff that we are working on trying to get. For example, an interview with. I always wanted to get Doug Bradley into the show, but for some reason, it's like we never really got a chance to get to him. And maybe this year will be the year that we can bring Doug Bradley to the show. So we're going to do our best to try to talk to him, and talk to Valentina Vargas, who played Angelique, because we recently got some information about how to get in touch with her. So we already have some questions set up, and let's do it. Let's move forward in 2017 and try to get more interviews with people like Doug Bradley and Valentina Vargas, because Yeah, maybe bring back Peter Atkins at some point because, he was such a fun person to talk to. Yes, that was another one of my high moments.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I think that was actually not in 2016, right? That was the ending of 2015. That's
yeah, it was.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
That was.
It doesn't seem that long ago.
No, it doesn't. Yeah. So, a lot of cool moments that I think we did the best year yet. And we got, with the new Kickstarter that we're going to do, we're going to come up with more interesting stuff for 2017. And there's still more moments that we should go back to. Like, for example, like Rob, you wanted to talk about the creation of the Clive Barker archive, which is a really important thing that happened in 2016.
Yeah, they have a nice explore page. It talks about goes into Clive's life, past and present. There's a store where you can get some really cool goodies like art card sets and 3-thread bound notebooks and 9 notebook bundles. Those they have really cool covers too. They're like from, I think, Avarat.
Yeah, they're from Avarat.
Covers are. I think some of my. I just want to mention a couple things that I enjoyed. Some of my favorite, just a couple, because we've already covered on most of these.
Yeah.
But a couple that I enjoyed were Paul Kane's was a little novella he released called Snow, which is his own take on Snow White, that tale, and it was really interesting. It's a cool take. I recommend it to everybody. Paul Kane's become one of my another favorite author through the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd recommend that, and also going back to the Simon Says, the interview with Simon Says was very nice. I enjoyed talking to him. That was one of my favorite things that we did. Very good guy. I hope he's doing good. I hope he's
still fighting the good fight. He's still getting those chemotherapy treatments. So yes, that was definitely another. I also had that on my list. The Simon Says episode was fantastic. He was on episode 116.
I saw that on the Hellbound Web Facebook page that Esther was starting to promote or to sell boxes for him, it looks like.
Yeah, that's cool.
Great. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because he's the box maker, he's the toy maker, he's the real deal.
Yeah, he's the real Michon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the last one I just want to comment is, going back to Peter Atkins, is that he did a short story collection that I really want to recommend again to people. I think it's just an ebook. It's just an ebook you can get on Amazon.
It's on Kindle. It's a Kindle.
It's a Kindle. Yeah. And it's about 4 or 5 stories, but they're really good. And I highly recommend. My favorite was called "Between the Cold and the Moon," and the Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of a romantic tale, but it has a little bit of a horror quality to it. But there were some other ones there in that collection that were really good. So I highly recommend that.
Yeah, I bought that Kindle edition thanks to you. Yeah, you told me to watch out for it, and I think I got it for maybe $1 or $2. It was on a special at Amazon, and I got this Cemetery Select short collection. That's really good. Yeah.
His wife also put out a book that I bought. I haven't read it yet, but I want to. I guess I'll give a kind of a shout out. Her name's Dana Middleton, and I can't remember the name of the book. It would help to know the name of the book, but she put a book out that I bought. I'm looking forward to reading it. And
cool.
Those are some of my favorite moments of 2016. Everything else we discussed, pretty much, like the the Sherlock Holmes Hellraiser
Servants
crossover.
of Hell.
Yeah.
Servants of Hell.
It's a lot easier to watch the bad movies that we did the commentaries for with you guys versus like watching them by ourselves.
Yeah, there's no way I could watch Transmutations, man. If I ever watch those movies, I'm just gonna watch the commentaries.
Yeah.
I think I found the Dana Middleton. Is it called The Infant? I'm not sure if this is the same author. I was looking her up, and I found her on Facebook. There's a book called The Infinity Year of Avalon James. Is that it?
Let me see.
I think that's the Dana Middleton that's married to Peter Atkins. So
Yes, I think you're right. That is the one.
okay, that's cool.
And I've not read it yet, but I'm going to.
Yeah, something to look
that's it.
forward to as well is Paul Kane has been announcing this for a few years now, but I don't know why he's been having some troubles getting this out. Maybe he just haven't had a good chance to put it out yet. It's that Hellraiser's book that he's working on.
Oh, yeah.
Which is going to be interviews with a bunch of people, including Kevin Yeager, who half directed Hellraiser Bloodline before he took his name out. So that's something to... I know I keep saying this, but this is about the coming year, so it's something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Again. Yes. And, like some stuff that we covered, especially Rob on the blog. I mean, you covered this... unused concept art from the Midnight Meat Train that was the grandfather.
Oh, yeah. I forgot.
That was such a cool concept. Like, he had this kind of like armored, face thing where he had like this grid that would close over his face and then would open up again. And it's such a cool concept. I just don't understand why they didn't use it in the movie, the Midnight Meat Train. But,
Well, I guess they just wanted to change the ending and not have any of that cool stuff in there. Like, who knows?
That was that painting
Politics.
was laid out when you and I were there, because they were getting ready to put
Big
it
Prince?
into the motion comic, I think.
that's right.
That's
Yeah.
I would
Which
love
is
to
still
see
coming
that
out.
motion. I would
Yeah.
love to see that. I really liked that. I don't know if it's the best adaptation of that story, but
The
I
art
really
was
liked
really
the
good.
artwork. Yeah, I liked the art, and I liked just the idea of seeing more Clive Barker. Those stories being told in some kind of different medium.
Yeah.
I'd love those to be, turned into some kind of, if they could do it, animation kind of, movies, and the stories need to be.
Their original plan was to do every Books of Blood short story
movie.
in a row, so that's why Midnight Meat Train was next, and the Book of Blood was first.
Ah, okay.
And Chris Velasco also did
Score.
music for that, right?
Yeah, right.
Good. So I wish they would have put that out. Released a still of it a couple years ago. It was supposed to be a bi-monthly thing, and that was such good. I think the Midnight Meat Train is a big story compared to the Books of Blood.
Yeah.
That it was. They didn't really know. I think they kind of were thinking too big, maybe.
Yeah, because the two bookend stories of the Books of Blood, they total maybe 30 pages, 20 pages, I don't know.
Yeah.
They're not that big. But then when you start going to the meatier, the more
Stories are
meaty stories of the
30
Books
or
of Blood.
40 pages.
Yeah, they get really, really dense. So if you have to start cutting it down, I don't know how that's going to turn out in terms of being as entertaining as reading it, So, but hey, the motion comics worked really well. I really love the engine and the animation that they used for it, and the way that it plays out as you click to see the next. Okay, so yeah, that was 2016, a wonderful year for Clive Barker fans, and let's see what happens in 2017. All these projects that are coming out are going to be really interesting. And we'll do our best to cover all these news and bring you more interesting interviews, commentary tracks, and whatever you guys want us to do. Just let us know. Give us feedback.
Yeah, I mean, despite the fact that there wasn't a whole lot that came out in 2016, we still talked for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just us. We're a couple of nerds. We just love to talk about stuff.
Well,
that's right. We love the sound of our own voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Me too.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks for being with us, Rob.
Yeah,
and I hope that we will be able to open an episode again in the future saying, hey, I'm Jose and Ryan. This is Rob.
You can find the show notes for this page and lots of Clive Barker news and features at www.clivebarkercast.com. Leave comments there or get them directly into the podcast by clicking the Send Voicemail tab on the right. Please follow us on Twitter at BarkerCast or at Occupy Midian. Like us on Facebook and join the Occupy Midian Facebook group. You can listen on the site or subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Libsyn, TuneIn, Pocket Cast, Google Play, and Double Twist. Subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Please take a couple of minutes to leave us a review on iTunes. It means the world to us and helps us spread the word about Clive Barker. The Clive Barker Podcast, or BarkerCast, is an independent editorial fan site and podcast that is not affiliated with or under contract by Clive Barker or Seraphim Films. This is a labor of love by the fans for the fans.
Thanks for listening.